Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. And I am joined here, as always, by the man who, unlike the Pittsburgh Steelers, never drops the ball when he's here on the Sideline podcast. Kyle, how are you doing?
That's right. I never dropped the ball at all. I'm here with my Valdosta State University hat on. Shout out to Kenny Moore, who had a great game today. Ready to go. Valdosta State pride, baby.
I saw you were pumped up about Kenny Moore. You are a big Kenny Moore stan.
I am. There's literally like two guys in NFL history that are out of Valdosta State, so I have to support them as my alma mater.
Okay, yes, and I never went to college, so I can't support anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, as always, yes. Thank you to everyone watching us live in the chat. We appreciate it. As always, we start off with the Sunday game and work our way down. And so we're going to start off with, I feel like some of the games, sometimes you have to explain why you're starting off with certain games. Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers defense showed up in the first half and kind of at a certain point, you can only do so much with their sputtering offense. What did you think of this game?
Well, I guess, which side do you want to start on here? Do you want to start with Pittsburgh?
Let's start with Buffalo. Let's start with the winning team, and then we'll get to let's do that.
We keep it positive here on the On the Sideline podcast. So, I think the first thing I have to say about Buffalo is I don't know if he's been mentioned as potential candidates for jobs, but I think it's DeBall. Brian DeBall has to be considered for some head coaching jobs because he's damn near batted 1,000. The execution isn't always there, but I think he's damn near batted 1,000 as far as play calling and game planning for a lot of games. I thought he did a great job of adjusting in this game when the Steelers were kind of just overwhelming Josh Allen, and they were just throwing a lot of bodies at him, disrupting him, getting him out of his comfort zone. And they're just like, sometimes we think we have to overthink things as like football teams, and we want our offensive coordinators to come out with this, super complex game plan that like blows everyone away. The simple adjustment was like, hey, let's get Stephon Diggs the ball. And that worked. It's like, let's just make sure we get Diggs the ball. Let's get him in space. They're throwing a lot of guys at us, and it worked. Stephon Diggs had a great game. He opened up a lot of things for that offense, and then all of a sudden it was like the Bills were rolling again. I thought it was a great job by them overall on that side of the ball, adjusting to the Steelers defense.
Yeah. And obviously it all starts with Josh Allen, whose numbers weren't pretty this game, but he was going up against a really good defense, and he made the throws he had to make. He did have that one interception that was a classic, like, oh, Josh Allen, what are you doing? But as a whole, he can get you those splash plays, and this Bills team is really good, and they're continuing to be really good. This is their most dominant win. At this point, they do have an outside shot. Well, they're probably not going to get the 1 seed, but they definitely have a shot at the 2 seed. They're only a game behind Pittsburgh now. And this is a really big win for them. In the chat, no says that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in his division. Well, he's not better than Stidham, right?
Yeah, Joe Flacco's in the division. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I thought he was good at, after settling down a little bit I think it was the end of the second quarter when he really started to settle down and look better. And then in that second half, I thought he did a good job. Like you said, that Steelers defense, they threw everything at him to start. Like I said, they were throwing so many bodies at him. They didn't want him to run. So they were trying to neutralize him by blitzing as many guys as they could, it seemed like. And I just thought he did a really good job of adjusting, slowing himself down, and, just hitting the simple passes. It wasn't necessarily always had to be a 30-yard bomb, even though he can make those every time. And, I thought it was an impressive performance from Buffalo. You didn't have to test their run defense because the Steelers can't run the football, and the pass defense was awesome in this one, covering those Steelers receivers.
Yeah, no, it was. And now let's shift a little bit to the Steelers. I think they're the more interesting story. They were undefeated 2 weeks ago. Now they're 11-2. It has to, for one thing, if you're a team that's going to be defensive heavy and you're going to be a game manager, Ben Roethlisberger, you can't throw a pick six there. And that's a real issue. You can't turn the ball over multiple times. And I do think on one hand, this Bills defense has been improving week after week. And I think it's probably fair to say it's back. They have a good defense at this point. They can't, as long as you don't run the ball, which Pittsburgh doesn't. And even in their run defense, listen, Pittsburgh's not the best run offense, but James Conner had 18 yards on 10 carries. There's still a lot good about the Steelers team, but they're banged up right now, and they're having a hard time adjusting.
Yeah, so here's my epiphany during this game.
Okay.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are the 2019 New England Patriots. I mean, I just feel like, the receivers are better in Pittsburgh. But I just feel like every year there's always a team that starts off with this crazy record, like 8-1, 8-0, 9-0. This team was 11-0. And then they end up kind of being fraudulent. A lot of teams start to figure it out. And it's like, oh, well, we don't really have a plan B once you figure our stuff out. Because this team doesn't have a plan B. It doesn't have a plan B because Roethlisberger can't really move and they can't run the football. And, I feel like both of these teams even have weird phases where, as much as I like both of these wide receiving groups, they have weird phases for both of these teams where the wide receivers just can't seem to get open at times. And I don't know if it's just going up against really good defenses, but they had no chance to get they had nobody getting open, it seemed like at times. And then Roethlisberger wasn't helping them out because he floated some balls out there that the defense was just all over.
Well, yeah, and a huge part of it is, again, they can't run the football. They don't run the football well, so teams can just play man coverage and you can put your corners in a position to succeed and put your players in a position to be able to beat even a good wide receiver core. And you need some semblance of a running game. Otherwise, teams can really, they don't have to worry about it. And I think that's a real issue for Pittsburgh. I want to back up a little bit, though. I thought that I think that this is still a good team. Like, I don't think they're quite the Patriots were a good team last year also. They weren't a great team. Obviously, they got knocked out week 1, but they were a good team. And I think Pittsburgh is a little bit better. I mean, again, New England went 5-0, right? Or what were they, 8-0?
No, they were like 8 or 9-0.
Okay, well then maybe not. Then maybe it is. There could be a similarities. But I also think that the injuries hurt. Let's see. There's a super chat. You always got clickbait. Raiders Nation, love it. Thoughts on Paul Guenther getting fired? We'll get to that when we talk about the Raiders. We will get to that. And in fairness, I think I'm clickbaiting the Colts Nation this time.
Yeah, I mean, we are the official podcast of the Las Vegas Raiders. Don't you forget it. Yeah. Through thick and thin, we will be there. Going back to the Steelers, though. Yeah, I mean, so I do think this is a good team, but at this point, I don't know. I still come back to the point where I would be shocked if Kansas City's not in the Super Bowl. As good as I think the AFC is, I would honestly right now be shocked if any of these teams beat Kansas City because they have so many mistakes that I feel like they're not going to be made up for. And even though the Chiefs have flaws in their team, they have Patrick Mahomes, which makes up for a lot of mistakes. I would just be shocked right now with a lot of these teams who have so many flaws that they're able to, the Steelers could easily lose in the first round, and I wouldn't be surprised. If they beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, I'd be surprised. I feel like there's a ceiling on this team is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, and I don't disagree. I think that I'm willing to give them a bit more of an excuse, and I think that they're just not the same team without like a Bud Dupree there. I really do believe that. Yes. But you're not wrong. I mean, they're this Steelers team, quite frankly, this Bills team is the biggest threat to the Chiefs right now. They've been playing really good football, and you do think that, again, we'll get to it when we talk about Kansas City, but the way to beating Kansas City is largely through outscoring them, and this is maybe a team that can do it, and their one weakness is the running game, where Kansas City doesn't succeed that well in it, so maybe that's the team, but yeah, it's probably not Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's an interesting spot for Pittsburgh. One of our favorite listeners, Eli, has decided not to show up today. It seems like, might be hiding there.
Well, the weird shots fired at one of our biggest listeners.
I'm kidding, Eli. Big fan.
Just watching it. Maybe he's going to watch it after. Maybe doesn't feel like watching it right after this loss. I understand that, Eli. If you're watching this later, don't come at us on Twitter or anything. Yeah, but all right. Good win for Buffalo. We'll see what they can do the rest of the way. And for Pittsburgh, I mean, you still have a shot at maybe the 1 seed, but probably not. It seems like it's an uphill battle. Let's talk about the thumbnail game, the official podcast of the Las Vegas Raiders. Got to talk about them here. This was we talked about this as potentially the game of the week, and really the Raiders didn't show up here, especially defensively, which resulted in Paul Guenther, their defensive coordinator, getting fired. Not even the day after, getting fired the day that they lose. What were your thoughts on this one?
I mean, this Raiders defense is continuing to just look ugly. I think it was 300 yards in the first half almost for Indianapolis. And yeah, I mean, they just had no answer for seemingly anything. Like Jonathan Taylor would 7.5 yards per carry for Jonathan Taylor. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
how does that happen? And it's just like constantly, I didn't think Phillip Rivers really threw the ball really well, but one of the things I'm going to talk about on my bottom five is like there are so many plays where it's like Raiders corners just need to turn and look for the ball, and they don't do it. They don't turn and look for the ball. The T.Y. Hilton touchdown was a perfect example of that. He's staring at T.Y. Hilton rather than looking for the ball when he's in the back of the end zone and can't go anywhere else. I don't know. There's a lot that I didn't like about this defense. One of the things I saw from Josh Dubow of AP Associated Press, he said 3 years under Paul Gunther, points per game 28.4, which is 32nd. Yards per play was 6.04, which is 31st. Passer rating against, which was 98.9, which was 29th. Only had 60 sacks in those 3 years, which was 32nd. And then they were 30th in takeaways with 47. So, like, I don't know if I don't know if Rod Marinelli is going to come and fix this over the last 3 weeks of the season, but the firing's completely justified at this point. He didn't perform. He didn't perform at the level they needed to.
Yeah, I mean the firing makes sense. It's very bizarre. I sort of tweeted out. It's bizarre to see in the middle of a playoff. You're trying to make the playoffs here. There's 3 weeks left in the season, and you're getting rid of a defensive coordinator. It's never a good sign, and it also is justified. It is the right move, as you said, for the Raiders. The good news is if Baltimore loses one game, they control their own destiny. The problem is just I don't think they're a good enough team to win their last three. I don't think they're a good enough team to beat Miami right now defensively, unless they change. I think the talent is there, but the defense just has to get it together. I thought Carr played fine. I thought the offense as a whole played fine. There was that pick six, which that's something I want to talk about with the Colts. Is it seems like every week they get a big play like this, and I think a lot of it is they like to play this cover two zone, which is probably the best way to get these big plays where you're not going to allow too much over the top. You force your opposing team into long drives, which the Raiders already like these long drives, and everyone's looking at the quarterback. All it takes is one missed throw, and it can result in big plays. And I think the Colts, I don't know if they're necessarily the most talented team, but I think they're coached perfectly, and they have a lot of talent as well, specifically Kenny Moore. He's easily like half the team. I think we can both agree. And
State, baby.
Yes, and I think that's what a big part of what it is. And they're still really talented too, so that helps. And I said in a video, I think Frank Reich deserves to be in the Coach of the Year conversation because this team is coached exactly how you'd want to see them get coached.
Yeah, I mean, well, outside of the game that DeForest Buckner wasn't there, this defense has been borderline flawless. I mean, I thought the Raiders in the first half especially moved the ball really well. It kind of got a little out of hand there when the Colts got a few touchdowns in a row, including that pick six, that kind of distanced this game. This game was a lot closer than 44-27, by the way. It kind of got away from the Raiders there at the end. And a couple turnovers didn't help that either. But in the first half, the Raiders were moving the ball pretty well on a defense that I thought, I know is really good. It's probably top 2 or 3 in the league, however you look at it. And it just wasn't enough. I mean, yeah, this Colts team's going to continue to find ways to win. And, we got to continue to give credit because we keep saying, like, oh, when is the game going to happen where he completely loses it? Phillip Rivers continues to play great football. He continues to not make mistakes, and we keep waiting for mistakes, and he doesn't make them. He's continuing to be really good for this team. And, this offense just kind of has to be steady because this defense can win a lot of games.
Well, yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, this offense won them this game to a lot of degree. I mean, their defense played well too with the big plays. Really, what it came down to is you look at third downs often tell the story of the game. The Raiders converted 8 of 12 third downs. The Colts converted 8 of 11 third downs. The difference was the Las Vegas also turned the ball over 3 times. And to your Phillip Rivers point, I think a lot of that, again, is Frank Reich. And Rivers isn't in these positions where he feels like he has to thread the needle to make a big play, where he's not trying this because his guys are open. And it's a lot easier for him to not make mistakes when there are obvious decisions to be made.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think this Raiders defense is good. I mean, it's very bad, obviously. We
Hot take.
talked about that. Um, but if Taylor and Hines play like this in the backfield, this might be the third or fourth best team in the AFC. Might be the third right now with the way the Steelers are playing because they're just well balanced. They got a kicker in Blankenship who doesn't miss field goals. They got a really good defense, and they got an offense that doesn't make a lot of mistakes and has potential for big plays with guys like Hilton's playing his best ball at the right time. Taylor's coming along and had a big game in this one. Hines has been really good this year and is explosive in the backfield. There's just not a lot wrong with this team when it's all clicking like this.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Good stuff for the Colts, for the Raiders. Get it together. Oh, one more thing I want to talk about with the Raiders. So last year, the Raiders, they were trying to make the playoffs. In their last 4 games, they went 1-3. In John Gruden's most recent season, he was trying to coach a team to the playoffs. That was Tampa Bay in 2008. They were 9-3. He lost the last 4 games of the season to finish 9-7 and missed the playoffs. Now he's lost this game. That's in the past 4 games. This last quarter of the schedule has been a house of horrors for John Gruden. He's 1-8 in the last 4 games of the season. In his past 3 seasons that he's been trying to make the playoffs. You got to finish these seasons, and his teams just haven't so far.
Yeah, and it feels like they have to win out now at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we really liked about this Raiders team mid-season is that the schedule's going to lighten up here, and maybe they get some wins in a row, and it just hasn't happened. I mean, I think they have to win it out because I don't think 9-7 makes the playoffs this year. The teams ahead of them have winnable games, and I think they all get to 10. And that Dolphins game is going to be huge in a couple weeks. I think that could honestly decide it. So, they got to win out, and it's a tough thing.
Yeah, the Dolphins game could be huge, and also the Ravens are still there. The Ravens are hanging around, and they play Cleveland, but then they got an easy schedule. So they need to win this one. Not a good loss. Let's move on. Let's talk about, oh my God, all of the comments for when I was confident Tampa Bay was going to win. Everyone went crazy. I mean, listen, looking back last episode, I think where I screwed up was I should have still let people know, like, I think there is a chance Minnesota wins because there's obviously a chance that any team wins on any given day. And Minnesota's run offense did do a really good job against Tampa Bay's run defense. But I think the problem with a team like Minnesota is they just need so much to go right to score points. They need to have these long drives. And they're really good at doing those, but it's just really difficult. And it's like the anti-Moneyball thing of it's almost like they're a baseball player that hits, or baseball team full of contact hitters, but the home run hitters are typically what wins. And these long possessions, eventually something's going to go wrong. Eventually there's going to be a holding penalty or a loss of 1 yard or something. And it seemed like every time they ran one play that went for 0 yards, it completely stalled their offense. You look at this game and it's crazy, some of the statistics. Minnesota had the ball for over 39 minutes of this game. They ran 76 plays to Tampa Bay's 49 plays. But on the flip side, they had just 4.4 yards per play, where Tampa Bay had 6.2. There were some fluky things that went against Minnesota. There were a couple of pass interference calls that could have been called either way that went against Minnesota. Also, Dan Bailey just can't kick anymore, and that was a huge factor as well. But Minnesota they do what they've done before this season, and they beat themselves in this one.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that offense is very methodical, and it kind of has to do, like you said, everything kind of has to go right for it to get points. It also doesn't help when you have to get inside the 5 fucking yard line to get 3 points because your guy can't hit a chip shot. The bad kicking epidemic that's happening in the NFL right now, like for the past 4 years, has just been really weird. I don't get it. I don't know why he was on the team after last week's performance, and he just completely shit the bed in this one. And I mean, so those pass interference plays were really weird. So they had the one in the end zone by Gladney, which is actually an interception somehow, and it ended up being negated by the pass interference, and then the Hail Mary one. I think if you looked at it at face value, they're both pass interference calls. I think they're both pass interference calls in the rule of that, the first one against Evans, there's some hand fighting, but the guy has 2 hands on him and is pulling him and he forces him to basically slip and fall. So I think that's a pass interference, But at the same time, they've proven time and time again when receivers and corners are hand fighting and that back shoulder fade, they typically let that go. That's usually the precedent that's been set by these NFL refs. The Hail Mary one, he doesn't turn his back to the ball. He runs straight into Gronk. It's probably a pass interference, but the precedent's been set that those are never called on pass interference or on Hail Mary throws. Right. So it's a really tough thing where they probably are pass interferences, but the precedent is neither one of those should have been called. It is a tough break. I still feel like despite the Vikings pretty much having the ball the entire game, I just remember at one point it was like 15 minutes to like 3 minutes time of possession. I still feel like the Buccaneers were the better team. I think Antoine Winfield is, despite what Chase Young did today, I think Antoine Winfield's a shoe-in right now for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I thought he was awesome again in this one. And, the Bucs got the win. They got the win they needed.
Well, yeah. I'll take it bit by bit. We'll go. Yeah, the pass interference ones. I'm never a blame the refs guy. I thought we got away with. I thought the first one against Mike Evans, you can call if you want to. You cannot call if you want to. I think that one's kind of a coin flip. The Hail Mary, I hated. I don't think you should call that. I think we got a total break. But there's also just some weird, I don't know. I know there's a lot of great Vikings fans out there. A lot of them are whiners too. There was this weird narrative that came out on that Tampa Bay had the ball they spiked the ball right before their Hail Mary, and all of a sudden everyone went crazy and said they kept it on 1 second for like 3 seconds. I checked it out. I tweeted it out. You can check my Twitter at Jackson Kruger. They had it for not over a second. It was on there for 0.72 seconds, I believe, is what it was. Just a weird. I think that, again, I get it. All the heartbreaking losses. I'm a whiner, and my team never does anything, so I get it. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is a team that just like I said, a lot needs to go right. I don't think Anton Winfield is going to win Defensive Rookie only because there's just a bias for later round picks because everyone hyped up Chase Young. Chase Young basically just has to show up and he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Like the same thing last year. You could have just as easily argued Josh Allen deserved it over Nick Bosa, but everyone gave it to Bosa because he was the guy everyone was hyping up.
That's another conversation I want to bring up in this game too for the other side for Offensive Rookie of the Year because there's two guys here that I was really interested in seeing. One of these days, I want to see an offensive lineman win Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's not exciting, but as good as Justin, we both said that we would pick Justin Jefferson as Rookie of the Year, and I probably still would because wide receivers, having a good wide receiver when it is fun, and he's been terrific this year. He's probably a top 15 wide receiver in the league. But I think Tristan Wirfs and Michael Onyenwu in New England have been infinitely better players. If you just look at the best players, I think Tristan Wirfs been a better player than Justin Jefferson this season.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. But he's an offensive lineman. He's not going to win it. That's just
yeah. I just want to see it happen once. So real quick, also, one more thing. For the Viking Age on fansided.com. This is a real headline from someone named Adam Patrick. Did the NFL want the Vikings to lose to the Bucs? Yeah, and he also cites because Roger Goodell was there.
I just don't. Yeah, whatever. It's so stupid. Maybe Dan Bailey wanted the Bucs to beat the Vikings, but I don't know about any other conspiracy theory. People are stupid. I don't know. I think anyone who thinks the NFL is rigged is weird. But yeah, no. For the Vikings, the one thing I will say is that again, the running game was awesome this game. It really was. It was able to beat a good run defense, which typically I always feel like good run defense against good run offense. I sort of just naturally gave it to I sort of just naturally assumed the defense is going to win. This time, the offense was able to win, but the problem is they can't pass block. They need to protect that in the future. Until they do that, they're unfortunately a middling team. Yeah.
No, I agree. And they lost their playoff spot this week, so that's a tough break for them too.
Yeah, who saw that coming? Let's move on. Let's talk. Speaking of who saw that coming, I feel very vindicated times two in this week because I made a video. Jalen Hurts is awesome for the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a lot of people liked it, but there were definitely people, a lot of haters in the comments saying, "How can you possibly call Jalen Hurts awesome? He's only played half a game. But I liked what I saw a lot last week. I gave you this game because I thought that there was upset potential. And yeah, I feel vindicated times two. Jalen Hurts wasn't necessarily the reason they won, but he got the job done. And the Eagles, not dead yet.
No, they're not. 4-8-1. What are they? A game and a half now out of the division? Because Washington can't stop winning now.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, they were right there. That defensive line was awesome. I think I saw that they had something like 15 pressures from their front four guy. And yeah, I mean, they were just really good there. All three of those guys, Barnett, especially really stuck out to me. This team, yeah, I mean, I just think they ran the ball really well, and this is kind of like what we wanted to see out of the Eagles this year, especially when all those injuries started piling up in receiver and offensive line. They were able to get the job done and hold off the Saints, who started to come back but weren't able to pull it off in the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, the Eagles are a team that I just feel like they're. So I talk about the Vikings, right, and how they're inconsistent, and I say, well, until they learn how to pass block, they're not going to be able to get the job done, or not going to be able to really be a threat. I think the Eagles were kind of that team, but their problem was they needed a quarterback, and now Jalen Hurts is here, and it completely turned this team around, and they just look so much better when they really get rid of the hole that was Carson Wentz this season. Say what you want about him. He wasn't good this year. Hurts has looked way better. And his passing statistics aren't anything special at all. 167 yards on 30 attempts. But he also ran the ball 18 times and had over 100 rushing yards. He had a bad fumble late. It didn't really matter. It was already wrapped up at that point, but it did make the final score look closer. But yeah, I mean, he had a good game. He looked good. He wasn't perfect, but he was a solid quarterback. And for a rookie, that's great. And we've now seen 4 rookie quarterbacks come in and look really good. Great job for this great year for this rookie class. And we still have Jordan Love, who hasn't played yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought he did a good job. 246 rushing yards is fantastic. And so Miles Sanders, there's been 11 carries of 70 plus yards this season, 11 carries in the entire NFL. Miles Sanders has 3 of those. He's been really good this year. Yeah, he was a big part of this too. And, like I said, the defensive line, I didn't think Taysom Hill was great for a lot of the game. He started to battle back and have a good game towards the end of it. I don't know. What do you think about the Saints team right now? Where's your head at with now that they've lost that 1 seed?
Yeah, so I saw there's Eric Hansen in the chat says, are the Saints in trouble if they don't have the 1 seed? The 1 seed is incredibly important, and we've talked about this, and especially with it being Green Bay or New Orleans, those are 2 very different places to play, as you brought up in previous podcasts. I think the Saints are fine. I think they're. I don't get this over. It seems like everybody is just waiting for the Saints to fall off. I feel like this is a good team that is playing with their backup quarterback and went 3-1 in that stretch. You'll take that 10 out of 10 times. I think that Drew Brees is needed. We really knew that. I thought that Taysom Hill has looked fine in all 4 of these games. He hasn't looked great. He hasn't looked terrible, which, by the way, one of my favorite things on Twitter is the complete overreactions every week for Taysom Hill, where it seems like week by week, because he had a good game against Atlanta, not great against Denver, good game against Atlanta again, then not great against Philadelphia. And immediately after, Twitter was completely, he is great, he is the future, and he sucks. Why is he even playing? Jameis Winston was trending on Twitter. Very they react very heavily. Saints Twitter does.
Yeah, I mean, well, I just feel like I do feel like he's one of those guys, like kind of like Tebow, where he has 2 extreme camps, where he's either he can be a quarterback in the league, or he definitely shouldn't be. And, that's probably part of the crowd that, wants some other guys to get opportunities as well. But yeah, I mean, I think he's fine. I don't love some of the stuff he does. He put the ball on the ground again.
Yeah.
And that continues to just be a backbreaker for this team. You can't continue to fumble. And, the quarterback touches the ball every play. You can't fumble. You can't have fumble problems as a quarterback because you touch the ball every play. Anyway, besides the end rant there, I think he's fine. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's good. I think he's just fine. I do think that for the Saints to potentially reach the Super Bowl, like a lot of us, I know they're a popular preseason pick, and a lot of us are expecting they need Brees back healthy. That's just very evident. And the only thing I think that's really big about this game is that, we've talked about, like we said, the 1 seed gets the first round bye week. And then not only that if the 2 seed has to play the 1 seed in the NFC Championship game, Drew Brees, cold weather in January, we've talked about Brees likes the dome and playing in the dome. Him having to travel to Lambeau Field to play Aaron Rodgers, I almost said Brett Favre, having to play Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field is not a good situation for what New Orleans wants to be in, not to mention that Green Bay beat them earlier in this year, and it looked like that matchup is in Green Bay's favor. I think that's a tough situation if New Orleans has to play that team on the road at the end of January. So, yeah, I think they need him back, and I think the big thing is that now it seems, unless Brees comes back next week, which I don't see happening, I kind of feel like Green Bay kind of has some wiggle room here. They might have a game to work with because, I'm not picking New Orleans to beat the Chiefs right now with this quarterback.
Right. Yeah. So, no, you're absolutely right. All good stuff, especially the part where you almost said that the Packers have Brett Favre playing quarterback still. Good stuff. Let's move on. So Kansas City, they beat Miami, who does not have Dan Marino at quarterback anymore, Kyle. He's retired. It's instead Tua. Yes. Make sure you write that in your notes. So this was a weird game. Miami, in their first 11 possessions, scored just 10 points, despite the fact that they forced Kansas City into 4 turnovers, and they also had a safety go against them, but really picked it up later on in this game. I thought Tua was pretty good. Tua, even the struggles early weren't really his fault. But this is the thing about Kansas City is you can't go 11 possessions and only score 10 points and expect to beat them. And even though they made a game of it, Kansas City's too good. And once they had the ball and they were up a score, it was essentially a ball game.
Yeah, it was just so weird. Like I said before on Wednesday when we were talking about this, I just don't see this defense being able to sustain their turnover ability against a team like Kansas City who has Patrick Mahomes, who limits so many mistakes. Well, they got 2 in the first half and then 2 more in the second half, and it seemed like they were going to be just fine. But yeah, like you said, they score in a flash. It's like you think you're feeling confident and you feel good, and then all of a sudden it's like touchdown. And it's just such an explosive offense. I didn't love a lot of things about the Chiefs this week. I hate that they continue to fall asleep in the middle of the fourth quarter. They've done it. They did it against Baltimore and let them back in that one. They did it against Tampa Bay and let them back in that one. And they let, Miami, who, Tua was out there playing, had 2 touchdowns on. I wrote it down here. Sorry. 204 yards of the Dolphins, 367 total yards were on their last 3 drives. And Tua was playing a lot of those last 3 drives without a lot of his receivers. I think Mike Gesicki wasn't in there for a certain time too. And they were still giving up a ton of yards to this team. I hate how this team continues to fall asleep, but I'm also going to give them some leeway because they're the defending champs and they have Patrick Mahomes, where even if he has a minute, he's probably going to win a football game. So great job by the Chiefs to be able to come back. This team's just too explosive, it seems like.
Yeah, there was a stretch where in a minute and 2 seconds, Kansas City went 111 yards and scored 2 touchdowns in that stretch, which is just stupid. And that's the thing about Kansas City is you're right. They feel weird. They feel like they make too many mistakes. It seems like every game they played, it feels like they haven't played their best football, but they keep finding a way to win these games. And you think about the playoffs last year, even all those games, they kept making so many mistakes and we're still able to win. The reality is when things go right for them, it just looks so easy. I'll give a shout out to Lynn Bowden for Miami, who at a certain point was looking like their number 1 receiver. He ended up leading the team in receiving yards with 82. They tried to have him throw the ball a couple times, didn't really work out. But, for a guy that Las Vegas basically said, we don't want him anymore because he won't play running back, even though he hadn't played running back several years before when we drafted him. Weird stuff there. He's turning out to at least do something maybe. But yeah, this Chiefs team's really good. And I think Miami, listen, with your defense just coming out flat for your first 11 possessions is you can do it. You can't do it against Kansas City.
Yeah. So where's your head at with this Dolphins team? Do you think this is a playoff team right now?
So they feel like a playoff team. I'll say that. I don't know if they're going to end up getting in because I think Baltimore is really good. And I think Baltimore has a shot. They still have to play New England, the Raiders, and Bills. Those are 3 winnable games and 3 losable games. So it's really this. We're going to see what they're made of. And I get for Miami that if you're a Dolphins fan, you're saying, hey, if we lose out and go 8-8, it's still a good season. We have a clear defense. We've improved a lot. Our quarterback got to play in some big games. But this was a winnable game too, and they weren't able to win it. And you do kind of feel like if they were able to get something going offensively early on, they maybe have a chance. Devontae Parker was not suspended. I thought he was going to be, but he might as well have been because he didn't end up making a single catch in this one. So, yeah, I mean, just it was a winnable game, I felt like, for Miami. They got a lot of breaks and still weren't able to get it done.
Yeah, even, I thought Tua played really well. Going off of that one more time, I thought he did a really good job in this one. Kind of a weird interception too, couple deflections.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even
it was a good throw.
Yeah, it wasn't even necessarily his fault, just a tough break.
It's one of the weird times. I was impressed with a throw that ended up in an interception.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I thought he did a good job. And, yeah, I mean, I do feel like still the Dolphins are still kind of playing with house money with this. That's how I kind of feel about this team for the rest of the season. Like, even if they miss the playoffs and go 8-8, like, this is still one of the more exciting teams for the next 5 years. They have all this talent on this team. They, just next year, it's going to be like the AFC East is really exciting because they have the Bills, Dolphins. There's still Bill Belichick there and potentially Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, so, I mean, I do feel like they're probably going to miss out because Baltimore's going to climb back up. And I think they have the toughest schedule of the teams in that playoff hunt. And I do feel like they might just miss out, but I think that this team has a lot of optimism. They're that talented and they're that fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, and Roy Crosby brings up this is the pathway where if Baltimore loses to Cleveland tomorrow and Miami beats New England and the Raiders, they're in. But there's a lot of ifs there, and I don't know if Baltimore's going to lose to Cleveland, and I don't know if they're going to be able to beat New England and Las Vegas, but they could, so it's possible.
Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yep. One more thing from this one. So Tyreek Hill has the third most touchdowns through 13 games with 16. The record is 23.
Wow.
So it seems a little unrealistic to get 7 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
Because he doesn't play Tampa again.
What? No.
Because he doesn't play Tampa again. He'd get it in one game if he did.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. But no, so he does play the Falcons and Chargers, who were both in the top 7 of passing yards allowed this season. So there could be an opportunity here where he rips off a couple touchdowns there. Maybe Mahomes targets him. Could Tyreek Hill be on record watch and probably walk up that Offensive Player of the Year with it?
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe he could at least join the 20 receiving touchdown club. Interesting stuff. He's having a great season, putting himself in that. I mean, he's probably an All-Pro at this point. He's been incredible. Let's move on. This was not incredible, and by this I mean your pick. You locked up the New York Giants. This did not go well for your guys. This was the kind of thing where this was not a good offensive day for the Giants. Oh, really, Jackson? They scored 7 points. We know. Okay, yes, I get it. But you look at what happened, and for one thing, you can't be having Hassan Reddick get 5 sacks against you. Andrew Thomas is a guy who they had 8 sacks overall. Andrew Thomas is someone I hyped up a lot out of the draft. He did not have a good day, to put it mildly. Daniel Jones comes back and was a mess. At a certain point, Colt McCoy came in there. This is not a great defense, and they played great in this one. Someone in the chat says, get me Trey Lance or Zach Wilson in a draft. I'm assuming that's a Giants fan, given the thing. Yeah, I mean, this was not a great, for a team that has playoff aspirations, this was a rough one.
Yeah, so when I locked it up, I felt confident with the way that defense had played. Then I remembered as like 5 minutes into the game, I remembered that I'm betting on Daniel Jones to win a football game. And I instantly regretted every decision I ever made in my entire life. Listen, it's as simple as if Daniel Jones can't run, he's not an NFL player. He's not.
Yeah.
If he can't run, he's not an NFL quarterback, which is just absolutely brutal because he couldn't move in this one. I think he had 0 rushing yards total, actually. And yeah, he was just swallowed up in the backfield, and he's not good enough to make reads and throw. So I don't know what they do going forward. I don't know if they make an adjustment there because the rest of their team's really good, and I don't think they're that far off. And yeah, the Thomas thing's also pretty brutal because there's 4 tackles that we felt really confident about in that draft, and they got the first pick of that tackle, and they picked the worst one, it seems like right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. So tough break right there for Andrew Thomas. Yeah, I don't know. It's this NFC East thing just continues to blow my mind. I can't ever figure it out.
Yeah, just when you think you have it figured out, the team that you think sucks wins. The team that you think is okay loses. Uh, let's see. Lenny Kewis in the chat says Andrew Thomas didn't play that badly today. He only gave up 5 sacks. So there you go. Yeah, no. This was definitely not great for the Giants offensively. Their defense played well in fact that it was able to at least hold Arizona somewhat in check. Arizona actually had under 5 yards per play. The Giants had 3.2 yards per play, which is brutal. But yeah, when we can shift a little bit to Arizona. I mean, listen, this is a big win for them, and they were on a skid. I still feel like this is a playoff caliber team. Their schedule kind of is tough, actually. They play Philadelphia, who is better with Hurts. They play San Francisco, who's kind of a mediocre team, and they play LA. So this was a big win. They kind of had it, and they were able to win it handedly, and it could go a long way. And also DeAndre Hopkins, they finally found a way to get him the ball, 136 yards. Good win for them.
Yeah, after the last 2 weeks of like just weird stuff on their offensive side, they finally just decided we're going to get Hopkins the ball. And, 11 targets, 9 catches. I thought he had a big game. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good job from them. I think it's, I think they're still going to, they're going to end up getting the 7 seed, it seems like, by default. I would probably take, if we're doing just a full power rankings 1 through 32, I'd take a couple of those AFC teams right now over them still. But, this team got it done when they really needed to. And, Hassan Reddick was just an absolute menace in this one, like you said. And
he was ridiculous.
Boo. Yeah, I mean, I lost my train of thought with that one. Yeah, so they made the plays when they needed to. It was a good win by them, and beating. Not only was it beating it or getting back at the 7 seed of that playoff spot, they beat a team that might be in their path in the Giants. So that was good.
See someone in the chat with a big boo at my fantastic pun there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, good win for Arizona. We'll see what they can do down the stretch. Any final thoughts on this one?
No, I think we just about covered that one.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll see what they do next week. Let's move on. How about? So I want to talk about one guy in particular. I mean, we kind of got to talk about it. Aaron Rodgers is the clear front runner for MVP right now, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
it's
so back and forth. I mean,
here's why.
This was Mahomes' bad game, right?
Yeah, Mahomes. Mahomes' 3 interceptions kind of put him behind a little bit, and they still won. He still had his moments. But I mean, so remember in 2011 when everyone went crazy because Rodgers had 46 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and that was this insane season. This year, he's currently on pace for 48 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, along with 4,535 yards. He's on pace to do better than the season that everyone went crazy over. And I think part of it comes down to just sort of how much the NFL has changed in 9 years, where a season that seemed like an absolutely outstanding year now is like a fringe MVP season. But at the same time, he's playing really well, and he's kind of been under the radar because I feel like Mahomes was clearly slightly better than him basically all season. But I do think that he has passed him in a sense. And unless Rodgers has a bad day down the stretch, I think that Rodgers has a real shot at locking it up and getting his 3rd MVP.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, honestly, if I had to pick right now, obviously there's still 3 games to play, so that changes a lot. But if I had to pick right now, I'd be okay with either one of these two guys winning. I feel like it's pretty much down to them with Josh Allen. I feel like a distant 3rd right now. I feel like he is behind them. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the problem is I would probably pick Devontae Adams for Offensive Player of the Year, and I feel like one of 2 things is going to happen. It's going to be Rodgers for MVP and Tyreek Hill for Offensive Player of the Year, or potentially Mahomes for MVP and then Adams for Offensive Player of the Year.
I'm surprised by this. I mean, Adams he's great, but he's been hurt for a bit of this season. I just looked up his numbers. He just passed 1,000 receiving yards this game. I don't think he's offensive player of the year caliber.
I mean, the guy always makes a play when they need it. I mean, he's probably not, his numbers aren't going to be up there with Kelsey, Hill, and Metcalf right now, but I just feel like he's always there making a play. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of football left to be played, but I mean, he's definitely the top two. So it's 1A and 1B right now for me.
I mean, he's incredible. Don't get me wrong. I think missing time does hurt, in my opinion. I think playing 16 games matters. I also think what's incredible here, instead of arguing with you, I'll say what I also love about Davante Adams. It's incredible how every game teams know double Davante. Watch number 17. Don't let him get open, and he still finds a way to put up triple digits in the stat line week after week after week. He is incredible, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling had a good day in this one as well. There was a nice back shoulder throw to him by Rodgers. This was just, I also see people in the chat. Davante Adams leads the league in touchdowns as well. This is the team. Again, everyone said they needed another receiver in the draft. I still think they would have been smart to use their first round pick to help them this year in some way. But their offense is rolling right now.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing everything right now. I mean, I said that last year the Packers are fraudulent, and now they're looking like a team that might be able to do it. They do a lot of things really well. They do have their one weakness, which is probably defending the run, but they also did a fantastic job of defending that this week, holding the Lions, which have, a few good running backs, to 51 yards on the ground. So, yeah, I mean, this team is definitely in the conversation. They worked hard, and now they're the one seed in that conference, which, like I said, is going to be a huge thing.
Yeah, and they're probably going to keep it. I mean, they play Carolina, Tennessee, and Chicago. You got to think they could at least go 2 out of 3. And with New Orleans playing the Saints, that's enough for you to get the 1 seed. So, assuming New Orleans loses to the Saints. On the flip side for Detroit, I know Detroit fans are mad about a call that went against them. But you're the Lions. Calls don't go your way. We know this. This is we've been watching the NFL for a while. We understand the rules at play. When you wear that uniform, you don't get the calls. Matt Stafford played well. He ended up going down. Chase Daniels had to replace him, and that was kind of the nail in the coffin. Although Daniels, it wasn't a disaster either in there. But I mean, he's no Matt Stafford. But yeah, I mean, the Lions were competitive. Give them credit. But the Packers are just a better team, and they might be an NFC Championship team or even maybe a Super Bowl team. I feel like they still need some work to do on their defense, but they're looking really good right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. I had this game on mute, and I was watching it, and I saw the backup quarterback came in, and I thought I was Daniel Blau the whole time. And I'm like, why does Daniel have his first name on the back of his jersey? And then I had to look it up and realize it was Chase Daniel. All of those backup quarterbacks look the same to me. Just a generic white guy from Madden, it seems like.
Yeah. Could you put your first name on the back of your jersey? That'd be fun.
I don't know if NFL allows it. I know in soccer you can do your first name, and then a lot of like Brazilian players have like nicknames. Like there's one Brazilian player whose name on his jersey is Hulk. It's really weird. So,
that's fun. Yeah. Also, correction in the chat. I said Davante just passed 1,000 yards. I guess the stat hadn't updated yet. He passed 1,000 yards before this game, so he's a little bit ahead of that. But still, yeah. Any final thoughts on this one?
Packers are really good. We continue to say it. And I continue to say Lambeau Field in January is going to be an advantage for them, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Let's move on. Let's talk some balls. Washington finding a way to win. So, up and down day. This team looked not great on offense, especially when Dwayne Haskins was in there, but their defense looked fantastic. They were able to get multiple defensive touchdowns. I don't know how sustainable it is, but at 6-7, they got a real shot to make the playoffs, and there's a very real chance, depending on how the end of these next couple games go, that we could see a winner gets in game with Washington playing Philadelphia week 17.
Yeah. How the hell is this team won 6 games?
I don't know.
I look at this thing, and it's just like this team, they throw for like 3 yards an attempt weekly. And, they said that, what was it? They said that going into this week, they had 1 defensive touchdown. So that they double, they had 2 defensive touchdowns in this week. and they had one for the entire season before. Where did this team find 6 wins without a passing game and without any defensive scores? I just don't understand how this team continues to pull it out. San Francisco's really banged up, and that defensive line really showed its stuff this week, though. Chase Young was awesome. I wrote it down here too. This was another stat I saw. Chase Young was the first player in Washington football history, to have 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown, and 1 sack. So that's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah. I was thinking about all the great teams they've had over the years. That's incredible.
Yeah, no kidding. So, I mean, he was really good in this one. And, the balls are legit. The balls are bouncing.
yes, exactly. No, I mean, they're in this. I think this is the Chase Young. This was the first time I feel like Chase Young looked like the guy I thought he was going to be. He looked like college Chase Young, but doing it against NFL guys in this game. He was dominant in this one. Yeah, I mean, this team, they had 3.1 yards per play. Their offense wasn't good. It wasn't, but they don't need a good offense to win football games, I suppose. I looked up. So here's how they have 6 wins. 3 of them are against NFC East teams. They beat the Cowboys twice, and they beat the Eagles. So that's 3 of them. They beat Cincinnati, and now they've beaten Pittsburgh and San Francisco in back-to-back weeks. So it's really just getting hot for 2 weeks and then beating bad teams. But there's something to that. They're 6-7, and I got to be honest, part of me almost feels like there's some teams that I could see squeaking into that 7 seed in the NFC that I would rather play than the Washington football team. Like, I'd rather play Minnesota if I'm a team in the playoffs than the Washington football team in a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what Alex Smith is like going forward. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say it depends on how Alex Smith is going forward, because like if I'd rather play Dwayne Haskins in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, that's an important contingency, I guess, to throw in there. I don't really know exactly what the deal is there, but yeah, I mean, something about Alex Smith. He throws for 100 yards every game, and they win like 2/3 of the games he plays. I don't know what it is. And it's not like they're good teams. Like, when he goes down, they just like completely lose every game.
Yeah, this team has a 1.5 game cushion right now. I mean, they're probably going to win the division. They're probably making this playoffs. I don't see, they got a game ahead of the Giants, and they got a 1.5 games on the Eagles. If they win 1 game, they're probably in at this point, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I like the Eagles with Hurts. I think the Eagles with Hurts are a different team. Like, I think we still got. I think we still got something to. I don't know. I'm not going to say definitely just yet.
Well, so what? If the Eagles win out, they're 7-8-1. So they basically have to win out, and they're probably in. The Eagles probably win the division, because then they'd be 7-8-1, and you figure Washington's going to lose to the Seahawks and probably beat the Panthers. So they're at, that probably is going to come down to the last week of the season, because they'd be 7-8, and that tiebreaker could be everything.
Yeah. So or even, I mean, there's definitely a chance where Washington loses to Seattle and Carolina, which means that Philadelphia would only have to win 1 of the next 2 as well.
Yeah. What is the Eagles' remaining schedule? The Cardinals, at Cowboys. So they probably beat the Cowboys, but they, beating the Cardinals is no easy feat, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say that's a guarantee loss either, but yeah, interesting stuff. Fun stuff down the stretch. Good to see a couple of the NFC East teams showing up, and who would have thought Washington out of all of them? Speaking of just weirdness, so I had my lock of the week was Atlanta, which in my notes I had Tampa Bay as my lock of the week. They covered, that would have worked, but when we were picking the teams, for whatever reason, I changed it to Atlanta. I liked the minus 2.5, and Matt Ryan, maybe just because he knows I'm a Bucs fan and he listens to this show and he wanted to spite me at the end of that game, but a couple of just horrible interceptions. As if he was trying to lose. I don't know what was going on there. Then the Chargers also, because they're the Chargers, they tried to like fumble it back and give it to Atlanta. It was who could screw up more, and the Falcons won.
I mean, this is literally what the Falcons and Lions was too. I mean, these 3 teams are just our favorite joke artists. The Chargers, that end of first half thing too, where they had a 3rd and 1 and ran the ball up the middle, and try. I didn't get what they were trying to do. Why do you need to run for the first down to spike the ball?
Well, yeah,
Just
we'll
throw
set it
the
up.
ball to the end zone.
Well, yeah, to set it up for people that didn't watch this game, it was there was like 17 seconds left. It was 3rd down and 1. They had no timeouts left inside the 10 on a 3rd and 1. They tried to run it to get it, which if you're going to do it, you have to at least know what you're supposed to do afterwards and know to get off the field immediately after. The offense then tried to stay on the field on a 4th down. Yeah, I mean, this was just exactly what we thought a game between the Falcons and Chargers would end up happening.
Yeah, I think it checked all the boxes. Yeah, I mean, there's parts I like about Atlanta and there's parts I don't. I continue to say it. It's a really weird team. I think the one thing that they have to feel good about is AJ Terrell still looks the part of a really good 1st-round pick. I know he was a guy that wasn't really a popular pick in the 1st round. He's looking like he's shaping into a pretty good cornerback too. So I think he's been pretty good in the second half of the season for Atlanta. I think they're going in the right direction. This team, I just feel like, it's probably the city of Atlanta, not even just this team. The city of Atlanta just needs an exorcism, honestly. It feels like this team just needs a restart.
Yeah. Well, they got rid of the Thrashers, but I don't think that's the kind of exorcism you mean.
No, not quite that.
Yeah. All right. I mean, whatever. We'll move on. Fun game between those two teams. They're rebuilding. We'll see what they do. Speaking of a couple of rebuilding teams that played a fun game, hey, Drew Lock played decent in this one.
Yeah, vindicated our preseason stuff where we said he was good.
Yeah, when we were, is that our worst take of the podcast so far? Is both of us saying the Broncos were going to make the playoffs? I mean, it made sense at the time.
I still don't hate the call.
Yeah,
they just took a beating with virtually everything. They lost guys preseason. They lost guys at the beginning of the season. They had COVID in the middle of the season. There was no way that you could have 3 of the best coaches on the sideline together and this wouldn't work. There's just no way because of everything that this team had to go through. It's a tough break. I mean, do I think even with the perfect season that they make the playoffs? It's possible, but probably not. But I think this team still has some pretty solid pieces. They were able to run the ball early and helped Locke a lot throughout the game. And then he just made some really good throws, I thought, in this one. Really efficient, and then threw the ball downfield and took his shots.
I mean, yeah, I think we talked it to death a bit at this point of all the injuries, but Drew Lock, just statistically, 21 for 27, 280 yards. That's in the Brett Favre zone, over 10 yards per attempt, and 4 touchdowns to no interceptions. That's just that's the Drew Lock we want to see, and I do feel like I think we could see Drew Lock if he plays well down the stretch. Maybe he could earn himself another year, and maybe Vic Fangio could earn himself another year because it feels like they're close. But, at the same time, how much time do you want to give him? It's a really interesting question because they're right on that line of do you just get rid of it and start over, or do you keep them and just try to work on the offensive line?
This would be a fun Matt Ryan team. I think, I think Fangio, if he comes back, is coaching for his job. And then they have Sutton coming back with Patrick, KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, which is awesome, by the way. They have Melvin Gordon. That's a really good offense. And this defense has actually been really good even without Von Miller. Or not really good. They've been solid without Von Miller. And they have potential to, I think, be really good when everyone's healthy. This would be a really fun Matt Ryan team to me. Getting a guy like that to come into this offense and kind of work with these pieces, because that's going to be the big question. If Fangio's coaching for his job, is he going to roll the dice on Locke again? Because if he's coaching for his job, he doesn't need a guy who's suspect at quarterback. Even if he can play like this some weeks, you need to see it more consistently out of him.
Well, yeah, and that's a good point because we don't know who's going to be available. I mean, there's been Matt Stafford trade talks as well. You could see Dak Prescott potentially. We don't know if he's going to end up. So there's guys up there that you could go for that are more sure things. So I don't know. Again, I love Fangio and what he can do as a defensive coordinator, but I'm almost hesitant to give him another year. But I don't know. We'll see. Interesting stuff, and we don't have to make the decision now. That's the nice thing too. We get 3 weeks till we have to make the decision. Well, we don't make the decision at all. We just talk about it, and we just criticize people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we do nothing and then make fun of people when they do something stupid, even though we'd probably be way stupider.
Yeah, exactly. So
All right. Let's move on. Let's talk. We got to do it, Kyle. We got to talk about this. I don't think this was that bad. I think this was you're a mediocre team. We knew this, and you were playing a Super Bowl contender, and this is what happens.
yeah, I mean, so I this was like the first Patriots game I missed in like 2 or 3 years
Mm-hmm.
because I had to cover a high school football game that night. Um, and I ended up watching some of it. I got a lot of it from my dad too, and he basically said it was a lot like watching that San Francisco game earlier in the season. Um, I think that this secondary is still probably top 7 or 8 in the NFL. I think that this running game is solid, and I think we have a head coach who's still the best in the league. So I think with those pieces, we're going to do a lot of things like upset Baltimore and upset some of these teams that we've upset. But you look at the talent on the roster, and the talent on the roster isn't there to compete with a team like Los Angeles. Los Angeles is just a better football team than us, and it was shown on the field. So, you know, it is what it is. I think this team's, I don't hate the Cam Newton signing. I don't hate anything about Cam Newton. In fact, everything I've heard about him is that he's a great teammate and been really good for the locker room. But it's just very obvious this was a stopgap year. He's not the long-term option. And unfortunately for him, because I still think he does a lot of great things for the locker room and he runs the ball really well. Whatever happened to his shoulder, whatever what this injury was in Carolina, it doesn't seem like it's ever going to fix itself because a 10-yard pass is thrown into the ground with him. The ball velocity and the placement just isn't there. And for a guy who wasn't very accurate even when he was winning MVP, having that kind of injury where it's affecting your arm strength isn't going to help.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think this is it's kind of weird that the narrative of Cam Newton isn't the answer kind of came out of this game because I didn't think Cam was the problem. There
are people who thought it, but it never was the answer. I didn't think it was ever the answer.
No,
but anyway, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I'm more talking about the national media and sort of it was a huge storyline of Cam was so bad on Thursday, and I didn't think that was the case. The pick six was really a great play by Aaron Donald more than anything, and so it wasn't great. I think Cam Newton's been a blessing for a $1 million quarterback. I mean, you're not going to find a better deal than that. Again, like the Rams are really good. I think it says something that every week the national media talks about how much the opposing team's offense sucks that played the Rams, because it shows how good their defense is. They make teams look bad. And also, how about Cam Akers showing up? I know it's the Patriots run defense, which isn't great, but he had a big day. And if he can get going, he's the guy who I picked to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And well, that's not going to happen. If he can get going here down the stretch, that could be a huge addition.
Yeah, that could be big for this offense as it gets into the playoffs. I keep forgetting his name. Is he going to be a head coach next year, you think? Defensive coordinator?
Sean McVay?
No, the defensive coordinator.
I don't know the name. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of good head coaches out there. I was joking about the Sean McVay, just in case anyone in the chat is like, what the hell is wrong with you, Jackson?
Brandon Staley, that's it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, maybe. There's so many good coaching options. There's Eric Bieniemy, who I think is number one. I like Robert Saleh a lot. I like Raheem Morris a lot. So there's a lot of good options. We'll see. And then, some teams end up taking like the random guys, and the random guys always seem to end up doing really well. So who knows? We'll see. But for this year, I mean, the Rams defense is great. And it's part of it too is just have a lot of talent. And, talent wins football games at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I don't, I think that, by the way, us Boston sports fans are probably the most annoying people online. I just want to say that right now. We're insufferable sometimes. And just listening to these people, like, it's all like there has to be someone to blame for this. Like, this isn't Cam Newton's fault that he can't, that he's hurt and can't throw like he used to. It's also not McDaniel's fault that he doesn't have better play calls when his quarterback can't throw 10 yards. We're working in the confines of our roster. There's no one really to blame for this other than that, this is just a situation with what our salary cap was and what it's going to be next year where we have a ton of salary cap space that it's going to open up. It's just a tough break for the Patriots. I know a lot of people want to see them win, but, if they like Jared Stidham so much, he would have been starting at the beginning of the season. It's very clear that they don't like him. Otherwise, they would have gone to him by this point.
Yeah, I was really hyped up when I got a Jarrett Stidham rookie card, and I was like, okay, here we go. No one else has one of these. He's gonna win. Big. Didn't work out too well. But yeah, I mean, and part of it too is for New England, all the problems that they had last year are still there around the quarterback play. You know, they still don't have receivers who get separation. Their line is good, actually. I had a bad game against the Rams. That was the first time I really saw them get bullied. But that's just what the Rams do. So yeah, any final thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, we covered it. The Rams are probably they looked the part of a Super Bowl contender. Even, Goff wasn't great in this one, but he didn't really have to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they looked the part of a Super Bowl contender, and, they did what they had to do and dominated this game.
Yes, and they get the Jets next week, so they'll win
Hope
that one
so.
by $1 billion. And let's move on. The Bears are so annoying. They're the most annoying team in the history of sports.
Yeah. So 3 random quarterbacks picked out of completely random. They have no connection whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
The passer ratings for today of these 3 quarterbacks: Mitchell Trubisky 126.7, Deshaun Watson 101.9, and Patrick Mahomes 91.9. So
Mm-hmm.
just like that, Mitchell Trubisky is going to play his way into a 5-year extension for the Chicago Bears. He's coming back, baby. Mitch is back. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, the poor Texans fans, they wanted Mitchell Trubisky, had to settle for Deshaun Watson. You got to feel bad for. No, I mean, listen, you feel good for Mitch. He's had a couple good games now. He kind of, I mean, the fumble at the end of last week's definitely put a sour mark at it. And that's why the Bears are annoying. It's like if they win that game, this is a team that's currently tied for a playoff spot and has a pretty easy schedule. Like, this is the team that if they just played up to their potential, I think if this is a competently coached team, this is a playoff team easily. And that's why I did say that this team is good. And I don't think I was just being crazy when I said it. I do think there's reasons for it. But yeah, I mean, part of it is this offensive line. It finally had a decent day against a not very good Texans team, which is part of it. And so I think that's a big thing, is that Mitchell Trubisky can also deal with a bad offensive line or a not great offensive line. And also, how about David Montgomery? He ended up with an 80, I believe it was an 80-yard touchdown run at one point. So that was a big part of it. Yeah, I mean, the Bears are annoying. They blow out the Texans, and they play Minnesota next week, and they'll probably lose by 40.
Yeah, I mean, the offense has kind of come alive these past couple of weeks. They're still not out of it. They're a game behind Arizona somehow. After all of this, it helps to stack some wins early in the season. They're still only a game out of it. Montgomery's come alive. Robinson played really well in this one. And then we talked about Mitch. With that defense, you're not going to count them out either. They're right there.
Yeah, I know it's unfair to use hindsight, but in hindsight, it does look like maybe not the best move to bench Mitchell Trubisky. And again, they don't beat Atlanta if they don't bench him, but the Nick Foles run did not do them a ton of favors.
No, he was just completely. He just doesn't do anything because they didn't really use his skill set to his advantage. They didn't transition into the quick one read passing game that he's really good at, because he has a really quick release. They're getting Trubisky moving, and they're using a lot with him that's really, I thought, to his advantage. And I thought he came through and did really well these past couple weeks. The Texans are still a train wreck, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
If you take out sack yards, they had 263 total yards. Deshaun Watson, as I added this up right here, had 193 of them. So,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's a bad team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the Bears, even with putting up 36 points, they went 3 for 10 on third downs. So just a weird day for them. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Chicago does. Here's the hope for a Bears fan that wants to see his team make the playoffs. Here's what you do, or her team, to make the playoffs. Here's how it works. You beat Minnesota next week, and you beat Jacksonville the week after. That gets you 2 wins. You play Green Bay week 17. You hope that Green Bay has already locked up the 1 seed. Maybe they win their next 2. Kansas City loses to the Chiefs. Then they don't play their starters. You can win that game, run the table, go 7-9, and hopefully that gets you in. Or 9-7, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a shot.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that Arizona's been almost as hot and cold as them, I'm not counting them out either.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's move on. you could probably count them out. They're still Chicago, but maybe they have a chance. There's a chance. Tennessee beat Jacksonville this week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry is really good, in case you curious.
What?
Derrick Henry is really good, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, no, Derrick Henry was awesome in this game. Ryan Tannehill was fine. Didn't have to do much. He only threw the ball 24 times. We saw Gardner Minshew come in because he's the better quarterback. And it's, it's weird. We saw Cincinnati do this last year too. Just forfeit the games. Like if you don't want to win, just forfeit.
Listen, I feel like no matter who the quarterback is, between Minshew, Glennon, or Vladimir Luton, like whoever the quarterback is, like there should be no situation where Jacksonville is throwing 54 times in a game and running 15. Especially with how good James Robinson is, unless something happened, there should be no situation where they're throwing the ball that much. Especially how badly, I don't know. I get that the Tennessee pass defense is bad, but at the same time, like, why? What are you getting out of that situation?
Yeah, well, there should also be no situation where your starting quarterback is getting 85 yards on 23 attempts against this terrible pass defense as well. Mike Glennon was, he had been competent these past few weeks. This was not great, but Tennessee, I mean, a good bounce back win after their disappointing loss. Yes, it's Jacksonville, but always good to blow out a bad team after you have a bad loss. And so, right with playing Jacksonville, exactly what the doctor ordered for the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This team continues to look really weird. Like they can beat up on teams like Buffalo and Indianapolis. They get blown out at points again. I know the Browns was only a 6-point game, but that was a bigger blowout than what that was. Lose to the Steelers where they, jumped out to an huge deficit in that one. Lost to the Bengals. Like I just don't get this team. I don't get what this team is.
I mean, I think I get them perfectly. They're a one-phase team. They have a great offense and nothing else. And so they're matchup dependent.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, if this team runs into a good passing team in the playoffs, they're probably done, right?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, they need a very specific, and we saw it last year. They did kind of have, and their team was way better on defense last year, but they still had a run that kind of went exactly to their skill set, where they played New England, a team they could run against, and they played Baltimore, a team they could run against. They need to play teams they can run against to succeed, but this is a team they can run against and they can succeed. I think I know who they are, and who knows? Sometimes teams get better even in the last few weeks of the season, but yeah.
Yeah, actually, you don't even need a good pass day offense to go against them. Like Baker Mayfield mollywopped them, so you don't really need a great passing game.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And for Jacksonville, yeah, I think we covered it. I think there's not much to say. They'll enjoy.
Justin Fields will look great in that colors, by the way.
Yes, yes, exactly. All right. This game happened this week. We'll spend a few minutes on it because we talk about every game. The Cowboys blew out Cincinnati. I did not watch this game. As I told you last week, I was not going to watch this game. But I know the Cowboys won.
Yeah, Andy Dalton on his return.
Yeah,
coming up big for this team. Look at that. Listen, I don't know which Allen started at quarterback for the Bengals, but he's clearly not good enough. There's like 18 Allens in the NFL.
Brandon Allen.
I'm never going to remember it, so you don't have to keep reminding me. It's one of the Allens.
Okay.
All of the Allens are now lumped together, besides Josh. Josh has now separated himself from the pack, but the Kyle Allens, the Brandon Allens, and I think there's another Allen out there too.
Probably.
They're all by themselves. Yeah, he wasn't good enough. I don't have an opinion about this game. Do you?
Not really. I mean, good for Dallas. They're able to get a win. Dallas still weirdly have an outside shot at the playoffs. It's unlikely, but they do play Philadelphia. So if they can run the table and get 7 games, they would need Washington to kind of fall off, especially since Washington has the tiebreaker. So they would really need Washington to lose out. But yeah, for Dallas, it's kind of a lost season for both these teams. Neither one of them have their quarterbacks this year, which is a big part of it. Yeah, we'll see what they do next year.
Oh wait, I actually did have an opinion on this team.
Okay.
Alden Smith with a touchdown, which said after the game he thought it was his first touchdown since college when he was at playing against Oklahoma. So that's pretty cool. He probably should be comeback player of the year because he's actually good compared to Alex Smith, but he's not going to win it because Alex Smith is in the league. So, But yeah, he's been awesome. I've really actually enjoyed watching him play for the times I'm forced to watch Cowboys football. But yeah, good for him.
Yeah, good for him. One of the few bright spots of this Dallas Cowboys season. This was a fun game. Seattle doing what you're supposed to do against the Jets. They see the Raiders' pathetic performance last week and say, yeah, we're not going to do that. Russell Wilson, he was out of the game in the third quarter. He didn't even start the fourth. Geno Smith came in and relieved him of his duties. This was domination.
Yeah, so the way the afternoon slate worked, I'm trying to look at the games here where the cutoff was. So it was like the Jets, Seahawks. I had Sunday ticket up with 4 screens, and I had the Packers, Lions. I had the Falcons, Chargers. I had Washington, San Francisco. And then on my iPad here, I had I had New Orleans, Philly, like trying to stream it here. And so I had the 4 games up on my NFL Sunday ticket. I saw the first Seahawks touchdown, and I just decided to go down to 3. I didn't need to see anything else in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Seahawks, they needed this. I think this came at the right time to play the Jets because they needed kind of this bounce back performance. And not only that, they needed this offense to kind of wake up because they had kind of fallen asleep a little bit these past few weeks. They got what they needed to out of this offense. And, hey, Marcus May made a cool catch for the Jets. That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple. I didn't even think Seattle played their best football, to be honest. I think this is just the Jets jetting it up a little bit. Someone said, I bet Geno Smith enjoyed coming in against his former team. Yeah, it was a big revenge game for Geno Smith. I don't have too much to say. The Jets.
Only the guy that punched his jaw was still on the other sideline. That would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been good. For the Jets, 3 games left. The Rams, the Browns, and the Patriots. That Week 17 game might be their only shot.
I don't know. They seem done.
I didn't say it was a great shot.
Yeah,
the only one there is literally a greater than 0 chance.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Greater than 0. That's funny.
Yes. All right. So we'll move on. Good job for Seattle. All right. So finally, to cap off the week, we started this last week. We're going to do top 5 and bottom 5 of the week. As always, I'm going to do the top 5. Kyle does the bottom 5. So I'll start things off. Number 5, I have Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco makes the top 5. The reason why? Because no one's talking about his 24-yard sack with Patrick Mahomes committing a 30-yard sack of his own. Only elite quarterbacks can get 20-plus yard sacks back. Joe Flacco, number 5. Number 4, the Rams defense. As I sort of talked about earlier, Rams defense, they do a great job at making the other team look bad. And you keep hearing week after week, the team that the Rams defense shuts down is the team that everyone's freaking out about. Number 3, I have Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson has probably, there's a chance he saved his job at this point with the, Jalen Hurts. I think if they make the playoffs, he probably has saved his job. So he's here at top 5, big winner of this week. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers. Again, I think he's probably going to be the odds-on favorite for MVP at this point, whereas he definitely wasn't heading into this week. And number 1, I have me. I am the number 1 winner of this week because the Bucs beat the Vikings, as I said they would, and Jalen Hurts was great. On top of that, I did very well in our picks, with the exception of the stupid Falcons blowing it. I still made up some ground on you. I'm now in the lead in my picks, so I am the number 1 winner of the week.
I feel like that's cheating to put yourself number 1. I don't know, but
it's my list. I can do it.
I would have had Doug Peterson number 1 personally. I thought that was a big thing. It felt kind of this kind of feels a little John Harbaugh-ish, doesn't it? When he put Lamar Jackson in, it seemed like it almost saved his job. Got the Ravens into the postseason. Feels kind of similar in that regard.
Yeah, no, I think there is some comparisons with Hurts and Lamar, even though I think they're different players. They're both slept on quarterbacks who go late in the draft. Lamar was barely a first round pick. Hurts wasn't. I think they're both really good, and I think we could see a very similar. Is Jalen Hurts going to win MVP next year? I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll go to my bottom five. Number 5, I had the Steelers because they looked really bad, and it's week 14, and they haven't figured out how this offense is going to work. Despite having all this wide receiver talent, they can't figure it out. Number 4, I mentioned it a little bit. Defensive backs have seemingly forgot how to play the football. They run face first into these receivers every time, and then get mad that they get called for a pass interference. You got to turn and see the football. I learned this in high school. It's the simplest thing to just turn. As soon as you see hands, you turn and look for the ball. I don't know why these people keep running straight into wide receivers and then getting mad about pass interference calls. That's my number 4. Number 3, going off grid here, I go SEC football fans. You're insufferable, SEC. You're just absolutely awful. I hate to say it. Texas A&M does not deserve to make the playoffs. Ohio State's a more talented team. They're a better football team. And Texas A&M already lost to Alabama by 28. I don't want to see that game again. I want to see Ohio State, who's the 4th best team in the country, play Alabama. So that's my number 3. Number 2 is Bill O'Brien, because he's still, even when he's not in the league, he's getting this, because this Texans defense is a complete train wreck. He made all of these trades and somehow didn't upgrade this defense at all. Like, it's just absolutely awful that Mitch Trubisky is destroying you basically in week 14 of the season. Bill O'Brien's number 2, and number 1 is Dan Bailey and Mike Zimmer. Listen, if your kicker is on this bad of a cold streak, don't trot him out there for a 54-yard field goal or a 46-yard field goal. Punt the ball, win the field position, and make Tampa go the full length of the field on you. Kicking a field goal there is just absolutely awful. There was a couple other kickers that messed up too. Will Lutz didn't have a great game, and he's typically a good kicker. And I think the Jets kicker missed a few kicks too. There's a kicking epidemic in this league right now. And Dan Bailey's leading the way. Going into this game, he was 6th all-time in field goal percentage. I can't imagine he's still top 6, though.
Yeah, one weird thing that happened. So Joe Buck said he, as a broadcaster, you're not supposed to root for people. I was rooting for Dan Bailey to make it there because he felt bad for him. A lot of people were feeling bad for Dan Bailey. And on a human level, I do to some degree. But it's like, if anyone were to have a bad day, a great kicker who's had an incredible career, I think he's the guy I'm okay with him having. Like, if someone had to have a terrible kicking day, like the Sergio Castillo for the Jets, he was the guy who went 1 for 4. I feel bad for him, but like Dan Bailey, he's fine.
Yeah, he's had a good career.
Yeah, he's good. And also, you better be careful before bashing SEC fans, or someone will throw their shoe at you.
That's fine. Oh my God, this is so ridiculous. Texas, you can watch these two teams and say Texas A&M isn't as good as Ohio State. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not the guy. I'm not a college guy. I just saw that one game where Florida lost the game by throwing a shoe. Unbelievable. How do you let that happen? But yeah, all right. So that's our show. Thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out here late on the East Coast. It's 1:20. I got to get to bed. But yeah, appreciate it. And Kyle, final thoughts on the week?
Good week overall. It was, fun week and a lot of competitive games.
Yeah, agreed. So again, thank you to everyone in the chat. We appreciate it. Thank you to everyone watching after the fact as well. Always appreciate it. And we'll be back here Wednesday at 9:00. And until then, have a good one.